Mr. Juby, I think we're ready to go.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call this regular board meeting July 20th, 2020 to order. Roll call.
Mrs. Daniels,
Present.
Mrs. Kitson,
I'm here.
Ms. Thomas,
Here.
Mrs. Tucker,
Here.
Mr. Juby.
Here. Recommend adoption of agenda as presented.
So moved. So moved. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Kitson,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Mrs. Tucker,
Yes.
Mr. Juby.
Yes. Can we please have a moment of silent reflection and the pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of
States
America
and
and to
republic
the republic for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Reading and approval of minutes. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Juby,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Board President's report. Good evening and welcome to our July board meeting. We hope everyone is following the governor's recommendations and staying safe and healthy. We would like to thank the entire administrative team for all their hard work in reopening our schools, whether this is in person or remote. It is truly appreciated. We would urge everyone to return the Chromebooks if they haven't already done so. We will have a special board meeting work session virtually on August 3rd at 6 o'clock. And our regular board meeting scheduled for August 17th has been changed to August 24th at 6 p.m. And a special thanks to Sherry Bailey for making our meetings run so smoothly. That concludes my report. Any committee reports?
I have a short committee report. Just a reminder that all activities will be canceled if we do reach level purple. All of our coaches have received and been following all COVID-19 guidelines. I did receive some information about band and arts from NSHS. I'll be sending that over to Chris so that he can review. They did a lot of research and completed a few different tests. So we just want to make sure that we are being careful and following all the guidelines that have been given to us. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any other reports?
I do have a short report. The next city council meeting will be held on August 10th at 7 p.m. I did receive some communication from some of our residents asking that as we consider dates for special board meetings, that we consider the dates that the city has their council meetings so that families don't have to choose between city council and the school board meetings. The city will host a document shredding day this Saturday, July 25th from 9 to 12. And it's at the Service Garage on McCracken. If you have not yet done so, please complete your census. This is vital to future funding for our city. Also, please make sure that you have all registered to vote, and I urge you to request your absentee ballot. We're not sure what our COVID situation will be in November. So with your absentee ballot, your voice will be heard. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
I have a short policy committee report.
Okay.
Tonight, the policy committee is asking the board to consider item number 21 to approve the second reading of the policies that was presented at the June 15th regular board meeting. We also will be having a meeting on Thursday, July 20th at 11 a.m. to review further policies that's going to impact the district due to the reopening and COVID-19. And that concludes my report.
Nichelle, is the meeting July 30th?
It's 30th.
The policy meeting. I'm pretty sure it's the 30th.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
I stand corrected. Yes.
Okay, any other committee reports?
I do have a CVCC report, and we'll start with CVCC received their CARES funding. There was $13,027 for adult education, $20,976 for high school education. We're still awaiting full guidance as to when and how these dollars can be spent. And to my knowledge, this is the only federal and state funding that we received so far for the COVID to cover expenses. While there is a county level system in place, actually it's at the state level, CVCC actually includes 2 counties. So they're not just, when they decide whether they will be blended, remote, they'll be looking at not just the level within Cuyahoga County and Summit. They'll be looking at various factors when they decide. It's almost on a day-to-day or week basis how that's going to be implemented. We do have our opening school plan in place, and it's on the CVCC website, which is cvccworks.edu. The plan is in place, and there is an area where if you have questions, you can ask your question and you will receive a response. So if you do have additional questions after my report, or if anyone listening on this meeting has questions, I highly recommend reaching out and using that tool that is available on cvccworks.edu. The opening school plan is in place. And again, this is an opening plan which is subject to change based on the COVID stats and guidelines by the state and the feds. Our opening day is scheduled to be August 19th. Opening school plan had input of both unions, and it has been sent to the superintendents in all 8 districts. I did reach out to Mr. Mangus. I was concerned because our students aren't starting until after Labor Day. He did let me know that we will have busing in place for our students should they wish to start and attend the CVCC programming as of August 19th. We will provide transportation to CVCC, and the remote learning packets will be online and available for our students.
Mrs. Kitson, if I could quickly interrupt, that's exactly correct. We have a question from somebody about the busing. We are required to bus on the first day of school, so we'll maintain that. We'll be picking up from the high school on August 19th for any students that want to or are going to school there. So busing will be available the first day of CVCC classes at the high school like we normally do.
Great, thank you, Mr. Sluka. We will have a registered nurse in the building at CVCC, and the health clinic will be run daily, and it will address the needs of our students and staff, the health and well-being of all our students and staff. There will also be a weekly report going out to everyone about health-associated issues and tracking numbers of illnesses and that. We will have a bring your own mask policy in place. However, we will have masks available for students or staff that might need a mask that don't have one. Prior to COVID, we have updated our air handler systems in our HVAC system. And honestly, I don't know what an air handler system is, but it helps circulate the air.
Yeah, it pushes air through the building.
Right. And so it's taking some of the air from inside, taking it outside and bringing the outside air in. So it's a way of filtering the air and providing fresher air. So that is in place. We do have direction markings in the hallways. Classrooms are set up 6 feet apart. We will be providing meals in the classrooms. And that is, oh, and we are having a blended learning plan, and the blended learning plan is not the remote plan. So at this point, we do have policy in place and it's covering our blended learning plan. However, if we do have to go to a remote plan, then we will be board approving that remote plan. And again, I urge anyone, if you have questions, please reach out, ask those questions online. If you're not getting the answers or you have a question, please feel free to reach out to me and I will follow up. And that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Christine, I do have a question. Does the CBC plan have to be approved by the County Board of Health or no? The opening plan.
I don't know. I will ask Mr. Magnus. I did ask if the board needed to approve I don't believe it's the County Board of Health. It has to be sent to the Ohio Department of Education, if I am correct, Mr. Hankey, by the end of August for approval. And if it is the Department of Health, I will follow up to see what date that needs to be approved by, and I will let everyone know.
Yeah, the remote learning plan has to be sent by August 21st. The Ohio Department of Education did give an option of a blended learning plan that came out before the remote learning plan. We opted to go with the remote learning plan because it's a broader umbrella for us. You don't have to do both. So that's where we are.
Okay, I have one other thing to add, and I forgot to add it before. We get various emails and voicemails from people that don't say who they are. And the policy, since I've been on the board, is unless the person identifies himself, we don't respond to it, so. Okay, any other thing? Nothing presentations, Mr. Hankey?
I'm
sorry, Al.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Juby, following up on your question, Mr. Patton and I sat in on a County Department of Health presentation. And it was my impression that they will not be approving plans
Okay,
for a reopening of schools. That's
the only reason I
don't know.
asked that was because
Right.
we had to go through the County Board of Health for the graduation plan.
Right. I think that they were inundated. So they were, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Patton. I don't know if you heard the same thing that I did, but I didn't think that they were approving the reopening, every individual reopening of school plan.
Okay.
They were not. They were allowing it the local control. So whatever districts decided to come up with their plan, that's what they were following. Just continue to follow the guidelines of the mask, the 6 feet, and the hand washing.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, I know one other thing I thought was interesting. Our water fountains are being changed over so that there will only be an option to put a water bottle in place. So the water fountains aren't there anymore. It's kind of like you would see at a gym where you can just put your water bottle under and you can fill it.
Any recognitions, accommodations?
Yeah, President Juby, I invited Mrs. Morris onto the Zoom call this evening. She is our successful candidate for the Digital Academy administrator. Mrs. Morris has served us in various capacities as the assistant principal for curriculum at the high school, and in the last few years as the principal of William Foster School. When the recommendation was made to me to recommend to the Board of Education, it was not only unanimous, but a very enthusiastic recommendation. Mrs. Morris will be planning the nuts and bolts of the Digital Academy and already has a substantial amount of ideas and plans in place. So we're excited to have her lead this new venture. Mrs. Morris, do you have a couple of words?
Yes, thank you for letting me come on, and personally, thank you I'm very blessed that the board has the confidence in me and letting me move forward in this opportunity. I'm very much looking forward to working with Mrs. Reisland and the teaching and learning department to get this solidified and get something really solid for our families and students. And also to come back hopefully soon and share all the successes that we're going to be seeing as soon as this gets underway. But thank you again for having that faith in me to take this on.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Thank you.
Any questions of Ms. Morris? Seeing none. Superintendent's report.
With that, Mrs. Morris, thank you. She's just for everybody who's watching, she's going to jump off the call. So thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President. The Garfield Heights City Schools is diligently preparing the final touches on its own customized and exclusive return to school plan that will specifically outline the various curriculum and operational considerations that will be established for students and staff when we return to school for the 2020-2021 school year. Once it is available, it will be emailed to the community, posted online, shared on social media to communicate to our parents as quickly and efficiently as possible. The foundation of the Garfield Heights City Schools return to school plan will have several guiding documents issued by the state of Ohio that we use to plan for and Governor Mike DeWine, including the Ohio Department of Education Reset and Restart Guide and the Ohio K-12 Health and Prevention Guidance Document. The unprecedented nature of our summer and how we approach school continues, but what remains constant is our commitment to sharing information and answering your questions. The district values your input, as demonstrated in the community survey from earlier this summer, the input from which has helped to inform the very plan on which we are working and which we will share for restarting the school year in the very near future, and in fact, on August 3rd. With continued questions, I encourage the entire school community to contact me personally, either by phone or email. Our administrative team is diligently working on the final details of this plan, and we welcome phone calls and emails leading up to its release. Rest assured, we will begin school safely for all students. Also, another good source of getting answers for questions is to rewatch the July 13 special board meeting, which had many of the details that are going into the restart plan. It is very helpful to watch in terms of getting information. One exciting development over the summer has been the creation of the Bulldog Digital Academy. Tonight, the district congratulates Brim Morris for being recommended to the board as the administrator for this new learning platform. Mrs. Morris is a name that everybody knows, and she'll do a great job. For everyone's information and in an effort to remain proactive in serving the comprehensive needs of all students in our district, the Garfield Heights City Schools is launching the Bulldog Digital Academy as a completely online learning platform. Bulldog Digital Academy is designed for students and families who feel more comfortable learning online during this unprecedented time in education, or who have a compromised immune system. Bulldog Digital Academy provides all the educational opportunities that students would receive in the traditional classroom, including the standard Garfield Heights City Schools kindergarten through grade 12 curriculum. The program will feature primarily Garfield Heights teachers and certified teachers in the state of Ohio. Students will learn an engaging curriculum that brings students and teachers together using online video functionality and provides for a more personalized learning approach. Bulldog Digital Academy provides an emotionally and physically safe learning environment. Students enrolled in the Bulldog Digital Academy will also be able to fully participate in school-sponsored and co-curricular or extracurricular activities such as clubs and sports. The district continues to work to bring back band and choirs safely. According to local, state, and federal health authorities, the playing of instruments and singing indoors is considered an extremely high-risk activity. The athletic director and band director have submitted plans to me to open band camp in a safe, socially distant environment. Band camp will commence tentatively on July 27th. In addition, the Garfield Heights City Schools is pursuing all opportunities to ensure a clean and safe environment in each and every one of our buildings. Thermal imaging, speaking of air handling, air ionization will be utilized. Hand sanitizers and rigorous cleaning of shared surfaces are included in the considerations and plan practices for the upcoming school year. We will continue to keep you posted on the district's plans as they are made available. Thank you for your continued support. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hankey?
Mr. Hankey, I do just have one question. we are having football practice, but we aren't allowed to have band yet. But how can you keep people social distanced in football?
Well, that's a very good question. The Ohio High School Athletic Association released their 3-phase plan for sports. The plan included football practice where they were even allowed to contact each other and then had to remain socially distant. While this seems a little convoluted, it was the guidance that was given to us by the Ohio High School Athletic Association. The OHSAA did not rule on band or choir. According to experts that I was on a webinar with the Cleveland Clinic, as well as our legal counsel, at the outset, band and choir were very, very worried about. There was a super spreader event in the South where 86 folks got infected by one person during a choir practice. And I think that's why that was treated differently from other sports. Going forward, as plans got developed, the choir and band directors did get involved. The immediate concern was band camp and the fact that the students would be outside. Various districts worked on plans to have socially distant band camp. And we looked at the plans and we believe they are safe. We do not have a governing body ruling either way. We do know that most districts are starting to some districts are starting to reopen band and choir activities. There are many districts that are not. They are reopening sports and they are not reopening band and choir. I do understand that this is an integral part of our operation here, and it is an equal part to sports. However, we did have to look at where the guidance was before we could safely, at least in my mind, safely open band camp.
Thank you.
I have one question, Mr. Hanke. In preparing our buildings, as you indicated in our report, with our middle school, are we able to put in those air ionization things and stuff in the air circulation? I know we've talked about the middle school and some of those factors before. Is the middle school able to have those same accommodations as the other buildings?
I will throw that to Mr. Saluka. Thank you. Actually, we're working with Gardner right now. We were looking at, first of all, maybe doing something through the univents, but that was not a fiscally prudent and practical approach. So we're coming up with a new approach, and absolutely, I think the idea is we are going to be pushing through air handlers, and the idea is bringing in fresh air and then forcing the air up through the floors and then out the rooftop units. So definitely have a plan in place for the middle school to clean all the air and using the current circulation. On top of that, I know we are also looking at portable units for some of the more at-risk rooms like the clinic, or if we have a pull-out room that doesn't have the air circulation and it does the same thing. So yeah, we have a plan in place for the middle school to, even though it's not the same type of design as the newer schools, to ensure that the airflow gets through and the air gets cleaned at the same rate as the other schools do. So yes, we have a plan in place for the middle school that we think will be effective. Mm-hmm.
I have a question, and it piggybacks on something that Ms. Kitson said in her report, her CVCC report. What are we going to do in terms of the water fountains that we have throughout our schools? Are we turning them off? What are we doing in terms of the water fountains?
Middle school, high school have the bottles. The elementary schools do not, so we will be turning those off. If they do not have a water bottle, we will be turning off those fountains in our elementary schools. The idea is for students either bring their own water bottle from home, or if they have a supply of water if they so need to. But yes, we will be turning off our water fountains in all the buildings. But middle school and high school, because the bigger kids carry their water bottles, we do have the kind that you could fill up at those two buildings.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Hanke. Remarks from the public regarding agenda items?
No one signed up, Mr. Juby, for the agenda portion of
Okay.
this.
The non-agenda items, if anybody wants to sign up, email Mr. Saluka, and that'll come at the end of the meeting. Reports and recommendations of the treasurer. It is recommended the board approve the financials for June 2020 as presented in Exhibit A. Move and waive items 1 through 3. There's a second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Really quick, Mr. Juby, items 2 and 3, just final year and budgetary items to bring us in compliance. We ended the year, the appropriations, we didn't need all the appropriations, but it's like, once again, budgetary compliance for the Ohio Revised Code. As far as ending the year fiscally, if you saw my report, Exhibit A, that I matched up the final numbers to the forecast, and we actually came up, unfortunately, 58,000 short of our ending balance that shows in the forecast, and we were pretty darn close in our revenues and expenditures for the year. The shortfall was, once again, I look at it as the catastrophic aid, and then a couple of other things in the purchase services that for the out-of-district tuition that was a little higher than I expected. But yeah, we were within our forecast amounts, which is pretty much right on.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Roll call.
Mr. Juby,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson,
Mrs. Mr. Sloop, I apologize.
That's okay.
I had mentioned the CARES Act numbers for CVCC. Do you have our numbers? I know you probably
do.
gave it to us, but I was.
I do. We are right now, we are slated to receive 1.286 million in CARES Act funding from the federal government. We also received just something that the governor put out that he was going to earmark some of his CARES Act funding to the state, and our allotment for that was 158,000. We got some local CARES Act money from the county ESC for some computer purchases. That was roughly about 18,000. The big thing right now, and we're still working on it, Mrs. Saxon and I, to apply for it, is once again defining what actually we could spend it on. We have a good idea, but when Betsy DeVos came out with her requirements for title funding and the non-publics, it kind of like threw a little monkey wrench in how we're allowed to allocate that. So we're going to be working very closely to figure that out and get it going shortly.
I appreciate that, because again, from the federal level and the state,
Right.
I'm hoping they give us enough money. I don't know how they expect a local district to fund all these mandates to
Right.
provide for a safe opening environment if our schools are opening on site, which again, as we make decisions and I make votes, the safety of the students and the staff is my major
Well,
concern.
and I said, Mrs. Kitson, in our work session that I would give a breakdown of our initial cost for making our building safe. That's not include the ongoing costs
Correct.
of making sure that we have enough hand sanitizer, masks, and any other issues that may come up or maintenance issues that we need to do as we move forward through this and ensure the safe environment of our
Thank you.
staff and students.
Thank you.
And Mr. Saluka, will we
Yes.
be able, maybe during our next work session and or school board meeting, get an idea of where we're looking at projecting to spend the federal and state dollars?
Absolutely. I should have that and working through it. I should have that by the August 24th regular meeting to share.
Thank you.
Okay, recommendations of superintendent to the board.
We need
It is
to take a vote there, Mr. Juby.
Oh, I thought we did already. I'm sorry.
No,
Roll call.
sorry. Mr. Juby,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Al.
No, that's okay.
Under personnel, as recommended, board approve resolution number 2020-28, a resolution changing Michael Fortian as high school assistant principal to middle school principal. Move and waives items 4 through 21. there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Truby,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson.
I'm abstaining from that vote.
Okay. Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 4-0, one abstention. Under policies, recommended board approve the second reading of the proposed board policy as presented in Exhibit D.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Mrs. Tucker,
Yes.
Mr. Truby.
Yes. Under contracts, it's recommended board approve the agreement between the Garfield Lake City Schools and ABA Outreach to serve students in individualized education program needing behavioral intervention for our students with autism for the 2020-2021 school year to be paid out of IDA B grant, moving waves items 23 through 30.
29.
27.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm looking at, once we get to 28 and 29, it no longer has to do with special education.
Ms. Tucker,
no,
I believe we had a couple is that the most updated? I know we had a couple of we had a
thought it
couple of
was.
revisions to our agenda today. and it
Okay,
might be-
maybe I grabbed the wrong one off
in
the
an
print.
old
I thought
one.
I
I think we
printed
just
it
got
off.
an update 5 minutes
Okay.
before our meeting.
Okay.
Is there a second for items 23 through 30?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Sure.
For number 29, Damon Industries,
Yes.
do we plan on or anticipate ordering more supplies from them having to do with COVID, or are we ordering those,
No, that's our
sanitizers
regular, but
somewhere else?
good question. A lot of our cleaning supplies are we're using to kill the COVID that they have those. Part of this contract is that we can order as much as we want as we get through. That's the beauty of this contract, that it's a overall yearly basis and we order as we need. The extra supplies, we do not order through them for like face masks and hand sanitizer. We use other companies. These are mostly cleaning supplies and going from there, that are used for our sprayers and for cleaning our buildings.
Okay, so that type of thing will come from a different company.
Right.
Okay, and then my second question was for item number 30 with YDH Consulting. Are we using this consultant firm for closer to 15 hours or closer to 28 hours a month?
It depends on the month. No, it varies. She has a guaranteed, for Ms. Hamilton, she has a guaranteed 15 hours a month, and sometimes it will go up to 30 depending on what's going on. With the equity task force, we'll probably have an overage in terms of the amount of hours.
So if we need her for more than 30 hours a month, because she's our diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
So if we need her for more than 30 hours a month, does our contract allow that, or what will we do?
Well, I'd have to have the contract tacked in front of me, Ms. Thomas. If it is capped at 30 hours a month, I would have to come back to the Board of Education.
I think
Okay.
it said that we could go over that. It would be billed at the hourly rate with board approval to go over the 28.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if there was a substantial, quite frankly, if there was something that was we had a substantial issue, and sometimes a diversity consultant does work on some substantial issues. And I don't mean to call them substantial. Let's call them employee issues. The consultant will work on that, and then we'll come back to the board if we need more.
Roll call.
Mr. Juby,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Mrs. Tucker.
Yes,
Under miscellaneous, it is recommended the board approve school fees for the Garfield Heights High School for the 2020-2021 school year as presented Exhibit A. Moving wage item 31 and 32.
So move.
Discussion?
I do have one question. Sorry.
No problem.
For item number 31, I saw a band pay to pay fee. What does that consist of for them?
You know, in following up on that, we've eliminated the pay to participate fee, so I'm not sure. Let me check into that and find out, because I know we've eliminated the pay to participate fee. So I'm going to have to find out what that's for. I don't know if
So
there's
should
a
we-
uniform cleaning fee or anything like that, but let me find out. We'll get back to the board, Ms.
Can
Thomas,
we-
on that.
Can
So
we
can we table
put
that?
this on hold until we get clarification, or do we need to vote on it tonight?
I think we could put it on hold if you'd like to get
I don't
clarification
know,
on
it's up
that.
to the board. I'm just wondering if we aren't sure what the fees are for.
mhm.
We can discuss, or we can vote, or whatever.
I think we should table it.
I bel-
I agree.
table.
And I do have a question in regards to some of the classroom fees. I understand with science and some of those types of classes and having to to purchase test tubes and beakers and that sort of thing. For English, is it providing the books that they read? What would, I see Mrs. Riseland saying yes. And I understood AP, they have the extra tests and, more, I guess, more accelerated learning with the AP. So I understood that but just wanted to make sure I understood why there were fees associated with additional.
Just,
English.
Just for the board's edification, I just got an email from Mrs. Zach up there at the high school, and she said she forgot to delete off the pay to participate fee for the band. So probably I would ask that we table this and then re-come out with a new fee schedule and approve that at the next meeting, if we could. So, Mr. Juby, we need probably a motion to table it, or just.
Nope, that's what I'm gonna do. We need a motion to table item 31.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
I don't know if there's discussion, but as you present it again, as we have 3 new board members, I think would be helpful if we could have a breakdown of what the fees are for, and that it would be, I think, helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, roll call on the motion to table item 31.
Mrs. Tucker,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Juby.
Yes. Item 32 is recommend the board approve the revised district calendar for the 2020-2021 school year as presented Exhibit F.
Will move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas, I'm sorry. You're not married yet. My apologies.
Not yet.
Yes. Mrs. Tucker,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson,
Yes.
Mr. Juby.
Yes. Remarks from the public regarding miscellaneous school items? Okay, I do have one, and I'll read it now. It's quite lengthy. To the Garfield Heights Board of Education and Garfield Heights City Schools Administration. My name is Renee Bolton. I have been a resident of Garfield Heights for 15 years. In all that time, I've always backed up my school and district because it is, in fact, our school district. Regardless of what was going on, I have found ways to support the Garfield Heights City Schools District through my time, talents, and of course, my taxes. I am now ready to ask you for your support. As As I am fully aware, the pandemic has caused major upheaval in our schools, from changing when school will start and end to how classes will be held. We're on a new playing field. I get all that. I do understand that you are doing your best to come up with a viable plan for those students planning to return to the buildings. At the same time, I need you to do better. At the June 29th special board meeting, the administration told the Board of Education that they would present a framework for the Digital Academy at the meeting scheduled for July 13th. On July 13th, what was presented was a flyer and a lot of unclear, with a minimal amount of information about elementary and only a smidgen of information for the middle school and nothing at all for the high school. To say that I was disappointed is an understatement. To make matters worse, I found out that football practices are being held in whatever capacity, while band is not. Our district has and continues to promote athletics over all else. There are numerous ways for marching band to carry on during this pandemic, even without actually practicing instruments together, just as football is doing. It makes me so sad to see yet another example of the district favoring sports and specific sports at that, over everything else. I am frustrated that though we are a little over a month out from the start of school year, there does not seem to be a clear plan on how this digital academy is going to work. As a family, we have made the decision not to send our children back to school in person, learning for the fall digital academy, only to discover it was an interest form, but was in fact a registration form, though the digital academy had not yet been and will not, and still has not been approved. At this point, I feel that I'm being a little I've left with no option other than to look elsewhere for online learning needs for my children. I know that we are facing unprecedented times. I know that these are difficult waters to navigate. However, I am deeply saddened that I find myself in the position of possibly having to remove my children from the district that I love and fought for in order to protect and provide for them in a way that the district has not. I truly hope that this changes in the very near future. Sincerely, Renee Bolton. Okay, any other ones, Al?
Mr. Juby, we have a lot of questions on the what the opening of school looks like and specifics. I'm not sure if we want to read all the questions or if you'd like to make a statement that all these questions will get answered by administration as we approach.
I think that might be a better idea because they'll probably get a better response other than,
Right.
you know, from me or other board members.
And rest assured that I forward all the questions that we get for the board meeting to the appropriate administrators who have a better understanding than I do on these.
And I am very confident that they will respond in a timely fashion.
Absolutely.
So Al, I just have a question. Are
Yep.
the questions that came in as public participation questions, or are they just random questions you guys been receiving? Have they come in during the board meeting as
Right.
reference?
Some of them I just got one in from a Jennifer Jovanovic, and her question is, how will recess look? Are any specials like art music? Also, will students be switching classes or at the teacher switching? Lastly, how will OT, PT, and speech services look? Thank you.
So that was the only one other one we received?
We pushed all the other questions. Let's see. We had a question. I'm sorry. We have a question from Melissa Sayers. What is the start date for school? Some of us need to make arrangements for our kids. Let's see.
And that's something we can answer for her now.
Yep. One question came in about CVCC busing, and we answered that in the in Mrs. Kitsen's report.
Mr. Sluka, would it be possible to take those questions and provide answers on our website in an easily accessible area? In case, my concern is, number one, if this is our form of public participation, I don't know if we have to answer every question now, but I think we need to hear the questions. And then if we can have that response to everyone available on our website, then everyone will have, all our parents, all our students, all our staff can have the answers to those questions. Just a thought.
I just don't want us to violate public participation, and I don't think we're able to answer the questions, but I do think we need to acknowledge or state that, Miss Such and Such presented this question, and if our statement is that we're going to address these items at a later time, we need to, but if the public participated, we at least need to acknowledge that someone submitted a question and we will answer it, indicate who it was and that they would answer it at the same time. That's just my thoughts. I just don't want to violate anybody's, our policy of public participation. Because we don't necessarily always able to answer it at the table, but people do have a right to present it to us.
Yep.
And I don't want to, they have a right to present it publicly.
Of course. With these, the parent questions that we got for the 2020-2021 school year, I think some of them already answered at the meeting, and most of them will be answered August 3rd. Am I correct, Mr. Henke?
Yes, and I also want to, I'm going to be working to compile answers substantially to all the questions as a FAQ that will be placed on our website. Even before August 3rd, I think that also, as I stated earlier in my board report, a lot of the plan, and we want to get a final document in front of the board, but a lot of the plan was presented as the remote learning plan at the special board meeting on July 13th. One question I can answer absolutely right now: with the board's passage of the revised calendar, the first day of school will be September 9th. We will have the revised calendar published as soon as tomorrow on our website.
I apologize. I just wanted to make sure any questions that came in the chat box tonight were acknowledged. I mean, there might have been letters that have come with questions, but I just wanted to make sure that that we.
All right, let me follow up with some of these. I think a lot of them were answered, but we will answer, like Mrs. Kitson, I think it's a great idea about making sure that all questions get answered in a separate area of our website. We received questions from Millie Smith that will get answered. Taisha Robinson had a question following up on Mrs. Bolton's questions. And then, see, I'm trying to think who else here. Hang on. There's somebody.
All of these questions were sent in regard to today's meeting.
Yes.
Should they be read then?
I could read them. Will students be given masks, or will parents be responsibility to provide masks? How can football practice be allowed yet not show choir? Do the football players not have to follow the same 6 feet social distancing requirements? What will my daughter's school week look like? That was from a Millie Smith. Let's see here. Mrs. Robinson said, Renee Bolt sent a list of questions for parents. She advised if we have any more questions to contact you. My last question, students, if we are level 4 before school starts and all students have to do virtual classes, do the students who did not sign up for Digital Academy automatically go into the Digital Academy, or will the students do something they did in March, which was assigned by their teacher? The next
I
one
do have one now.
was, what's that?
I do have one that I got. Is our school board going to continue with the expectation of only requiring a 40% passing grade and remain with less expectations at East Cleveland and setting these kids up for failure? Mr. Heisland?
I think they're referring to the pass-fail percentage.
Right.
Okay.
How many?
I can
already
answer that too.
responded to that individual.
I'm sorry, what, Ms. Heisland?
I already responded to her.
Okay, thank you.
But I think that was a good idea, Mrs. Kitson. Well, all these questions will go up for the website and to have an answer. Because I'm sure more than one has the same question.
And would it be possible to have a question and answer ability on the website where people can submit questions? And if it's not child specific, but if it's information that everyone could benefit from, or can we respond to those questions and have a answer available?
All right, I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Anything else in there, Mr. Slivka?
I'm trying to think, those are all the ones that I saw here that,
All right, very good. Announcement of the next. I'm
I
sorry,
just
go
have
ahead.
one question. So with us doing it this way, Mr. Hanky or Al, can you guys please provide some clarity to the public as to how the questions that was presented today was going to be addressed? Because we've thrown a few ideas around, but I just wanted to possibly provide some clarity to the public on that. Their questions were presented to the board and how will they be responded to?
yep, I think that's another great idea.
Can we do that now? Like, can we have a statement now on just, even if we don't know yet, but we'll get back to you. I believe that the public is due a statement on how we plan to address the questions that was presented to us in public participation.
Sure. I think Al and I are going to compile the questions and we're going to answer them through an FAQ format on our website. I think that's
Right.
the best way to go. And also again, encourage folks to reach out to me directly with questions.
And following up on that too, Mrs. Daniels, if I get a question, besides doing the FAQ, we will respond personally back to them. And if I don't have the answer, I usually forward it to the administrator who does, and they answer it promptly. From what I've seen, that's what happened in the last meeting too, that all of them
Thank
got
you.
promptly answered.
Thank you.
Okay, announcement of the next board meeting. We will have a special board meeting / work session August 3rd at 6 p.m. And our regular board meeting of August 17th has been changed to August 24th at 6 p.m. Motion to adjourn at 6:52.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Mrs. Kitson,
yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Tucker,
Yes.
Mr. Juby.
Yes. The meeting is adjourned. And thank you again, Miss Bailey. Appreciate it.
Always.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, have a good rest of the evening, good week.